Welcome to the Connection Code, where we discuss the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gilman-Rischel. I run a PR firm called 3PR, focused primarily on healthy food brands and trying to get people to eat better food. But I also spend a fair amount of time trying to introduce people that I think should definitely know each other in a professional sense.
Rachel does have a lot of stats. And I'm Jeana Anderson-Cohen. I created a health and wellness media company called The Sweat Life that tricks adults into making friends through fitness. I also am co-creating a social event and travel space called Petite Acres in New Buffalo, Michigan with my husband.
Yes, I really do want weekly updates because I'm so excited to go there. So we normally start our episodes with a big question, but today I'm feeling a big topic.
I think it's the right thing to do.
And actually, I just thought of something interesting. We have this very special guest that we'll talk about in a second, and we asked her about her dream connection. And did I not in our notes say that exact dream connect? So I never really look at this, but in my run of show that Jeana and I try to be all buttoned up with,
We're so buttoned up.
I referenced the very same person that is her dream connection. I could not have said that less eloquently.
I think you got there.
Okay. So the big topic today is credit to Oprah Winfrey, who I think is a source of infinite wisdom. But one of the things she talks about that has always really landed for me is that in life, you need to listen to the whispers. And that's how life communicates with you. So if you are attuned to little signs and signals and you pay attention, that's your life gently steering you. And I've really tried to take that to heart. And I wanted to share an example which ties back to this podcast. So bear with me on a bit of a story. I've wanted for a long time to do a podcast because I love talking. And I remember my Aunt Carol saying I should do it. And I thought that's such a nice idea, but I'm never going to pull the trigger because it was daunting. You have to have microphones and software and like the right chords and an editor. Basically all of the things that you know how to do, I didn't want to learn how to do. So I just put that idea and that dream to the side. Then I meet Jeana at a literal manifestation dinner. That was the point of the dinner. And Jeana and I click, we become friends, and you say to me, Rachel, I'm sunsetting my work podcast. Would you like to start a new one with me? And I thought, 100% the easiest yes. So Jeana and I decide we're going to do this podcast together. I'm thrilled. Here it comes. And I've committed to going on a women's retreat with her, and we decide that we will.
And Justin.
And your husband. And Sarah, who hosted the manifestation dinner. And we decide that we'll save a dinner just for us to brainstorm the podcast. So we go to this retreat, and we have a manifestation workshop taught by Sarah, and I'm in a room of roughly 30 strangers. And we have to write down and share our goal for the year for 2025. So I write down and share with this group that Jeana and I want to have a podcast. And I put it out there. And then two kind of remarkable things happen in succession, which felt like the whispers. I signed up for this 2-hour hike, and I see a woman right in front of me with a Michigan hat on. And since I went to college there and am completely unable to not talk to a new person who might have something in common with me, I say, hi, do you go to Michigan, or did you go to Michigan? And she said, no, my daughter's there. And then I learned that her daughter is in the same sorority at the same university I was in, and she's graduating and going to work in PR, which is my job. So, of course, we exchange information, and I talk to her daughter. But as we're chit-chatting on this hike, as new strangers that are being friendly, she goes, you should really have a podcast. And I thought, oh my God, like what a coincidence.
What a silly thing to say.
And I would have left that alone, but then we got number 2. So Jeana and I had signed up for a yoga class, and I set my mat down, and this nice lady puts her mat right next to mine, and she goes, I think you were just in my journaling class. And I said, oh yes, I recognize you. She goes, well, you told a little story and I liked it. And I've got to say, I'm a retired teacher. I'm in my 50s. I'm not so into tech, but I just feel like I have to tell you, you should have a podcast. And then I started tearing up. And do you remember this? I turned to you because you were behind me. And I said, could you just say that one more time? And she said it for both of us. And as I was in that yoga class, I thought if I was a certain kind of person, I would be like, how random that two people in a day told me I should have a podcast that I don't know. But I'm not that kind of person. I'm the person who listens to the whispers and thinks that it was an encouraging and gentle message of go for it. And here we are. And then today, full circle, we got to interview somebody I have idolized for 20 years.
I don't think we've had a conversation, literally, Rachel, without you saying her name. Would you want to reveal who our guest is?
Our guest today is Rebecca Rosen, a very acclaimed spiritual medium and best-selling author and podcast host. And I know that everybody has sort of that person for them, like maybe it's an actor or a musician or a writer. I just happen to really love Rebecca Rosen. And I'll explain more in the interview why, but I find a lot of comfort in her work. I think it's really interesting. I know for some people, the woo-woo stuff feels like really ephemeral and hard to pin down, and it's not them, and that's okay. You do not have to be that person. I would never try to convince somebody otherwise or push my beliefs on them, but I love the woo-woo because I do think life communicates in whispers. I do believe there are things that we cannot explain. I am open to the concept that our loved ones are out there in some other capacity. That might weird other people out. That's just me. And I've had many, many cool signs and signals that I've accumulated that have made me feel a lot of love and security and just like a deep sense of peace that there's more going on than we know about.
Yeah, and I find great comfort in the woo, and and I don't think Rebecca would be offended by us calling it woo, because I do think like whatever it takes for you to get there with her, like she's fine with it. She's not like mad about being tested or having like her gifts not challenged, but like put to the test. So I feel like putting her in the category of woo would be fine with her. There's a great deal of comfort in knowing that there are signs in the universe, or there's maybe a path that you could go down, and there are maybe like your loved ones or spirits helping you. Why wouldn't we love that?
I mean, this podcast is called The Connection Code, and we've never had a conversation before that involved connecting with the other side.
Sure.
But that was today.
Yeah, and honestly, if we're going to connect with the other side, like there's probably no one better to help us do that than Rebecca Rosen, right?
The perfect person.
So here we are with Rebecca Rosen.
Hi, Rebecca Rosen.
Hi. So happy to see you both.
I am beyond excited. I think that I've probably said this to you on a couple occasions, but I have been a fan of yours for 20 years. And at the risk of gushing a little bit, my Aunt Carol did one of your very early readings in Michigan. And this was the era of CDs. And after you did her reading, she played all of us the CD. And it was so specific and it was so incredible. And we all felt blown away by your gift. And so you've had like this entire fan club in my family for 2 decades. And so everyone is just in awe that we're having this conversation today.
Oh, well, thank you for sticking with me for so long. It makes me feel old. 20,
I think we're about the same age.
yeah. But I started this right out of college, and that was about 25 years ago back in West Bloomfield, Michigan.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though Jeana and I have heavily researched you and a lot about you, I think this is an opportunity for anybody who's listening and is far less familiar to learn what is a little bit of your background and what does it mean to be a spiritual medium?
So, we'll start backwards. To be a spiritual medium. In this day and age, I feel really lucky and blessed that it's a more common term and more people are open to it and talking about it. But essentially, it's someone who has the ability to communicate with the other side. So it's loved ones who have died, it's pets, it's angels, it's guides, it's higher beings of light. And so I always like to remind people we can all do it. In fact, I think we're all doing it often. We're always kind of thinking of them, some of us intentionally talking to them. But at the end of the day, everybody can do it for themselves. Okay. Some of us like myself. I just have a more specific and refined ability because this is my soul contract. It's what I was born to do. And so, do you want me to give kind of the abbreviated version of how this began?
Yes, I would love that. And then you already read my mind on a different question, but I feel like we should touch on this idea of soul contracts as well because it's so fascinating.
Yeah. So how this began, this is funny. I graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in advertising, but it was from the College of Communications. I never once used my advertising degree, but I am in the business of communication. And what happened was I was finishing up college, it was midway through my college experience. I started communicating with my dead grandmother. And this was not something I talked about with anybody. It was happening because I was going through a depression, and she started coming to me through my journal writing and talking to me. And I thought I was going crazy. And between her and what was termed my guardian angel, again, back then, this is 1997, nobody really talked about it. I was not at all brought up in a family where we talked about paranormal stuff. So it was kind of freaking me out. And as I continued to journal write, and she would just show up and work with me, the reason is my grandma died by suicide. She suffered from postpartum depression and took her life. And I was going through a dark experience with my dad attempting suicide. And so she was trying to help comfort me. And so this journal writing, which is called automatic writing, I didn't know that at the time, continued for 18 months. And what happened was she gave me this self-help kind of program to do, which became my first book, Spirited, on how to heal yourself from the inside out. And so I had to learn to find more self-love, self-worth, go within and trust myself versus looking externally for validation or guidance. And so I did this 18-month program, and I was healed. I was happy. I was in a great place. I had graduated at that point, tried to get a job in advertising, actually in Chicago, and that was not happening. And so I finally just surrendered, and I said, all right, universe, if you want me to, do something with this, because my grandma kept saying, go share your gift with others. But again, back then, that was like coming out of the closet. Like nobody talked about talking to dead people. And so I was really doubting this, but what happened was she gave me enough evidence that I started to believe I wasn't crazy. She told me the name of my first husband. His name was Ryan. He'd give you a rose. His birthday was 9/24. So on a second date right out of college, I met this guy, Brian Rosen. I'm like, wait a second, Brian Rosen. Dug through my journals, found the birthday, called him up. Sure enough, it was 9/24. So that was when I was like, this is real. I ended up marrying him. That was my first marriage. And I finally said, okay, if, God is my publicist. If you want me to do this, bring it to me because I am not chasing people down. And so that's what happened. I moved to Detroit, and I set up shop in a coffee shop in West Bloomfield. And people started coming to me one by one. Like people would send like random people I didn't know, and it was working. And then 3 months later, I got on the cover of the Detroit Jewish News. And that was back in 2000.
That is a very effective publicist.
God's good. And so what I would say to you is that, if you surrender, you let go. You stop trying to force or effort like what you think you're supposed to be doing, and you really just align with who you are, right? And you follow the signs, and Spirit is amazing. They will guide you into your purpose. And that's what happened for me.
Do you mind if I have so many questions. Like, I don't want Jeana to feel like she's not getting her moment.
I don't need it. It's okay, Rachel. Go.
We have a laundry list. Okay, let's go back to something for a second. There's three things that are top of mind for me right now, but you have often said in your work that everybody has this ability. It's a matter of tapping into your intuition and your own sort of like signs and signals. And it sounds amazing, but feels a little daunting. I always look to you and think, oh my God, Rebecca has a PhD and I'm in preschool. Yeah. So for people who do want to feel as though they can listen a little bit more within or be mindful of ways of connecting, is there like very practical preschool level advice for people like me?
You're like most people, just so you know. If if you did this as many hours a day, every day, you would also be very developed. Okay. So that's part of it.
Rachel.
Okay, yes. 10,000 hours.
Better. But okay, so the bottom line is this. I think the biggest obstacle for people is the mind getting in the way and going into doubt, right? It's like, am I making that up? Is that wishful thinking? Spirit impresses our minds and bodies with thoughts and feelings. So it's very subtle. And so I always tell people, like, if out of the blue, you're thinking about one thing and then somebody pops into your head, right? That is a divine thought. So a mind thought versus a divine thought. A mind thought is you're thinking about one thing and then it starts snowballing and you go down this trail and then you end up at this thought. Versus a divine thought comes out of nowhere. You're not even thinking about that person or situation and it comes out of nowhere. And you just have to trust. Divine thoughts are fast, they are simple. Our minds tend to make things like exaggerated and wordy and like, right? And so the same with intuitive feelings. It's like things will come to you, get the chills, you just get a really strong feeling, or it's like this immediate gut instinct, like, I don't trust that person. Those are intuitive hits. And so I think our mind tends to doubt, but also exaggerate and complicate the process. So I always tell people the first hit you get, because seconds later, your mind will come in and start telling you a whole story about whatever that was. But if you go back to the first feeling, the first hit, that is genuinely either your intuition or a spirit trying to communicate with you.
Gotcha. And I would say that Jeana and I both are very spiritual, very open-minded in that woo-woo space. But I know plenty of other people who have a lot of discomfort around this. And I don't know what it feels like to walk through life as you every day. Obviously, so many people come to you because they believe in your gifts and abilities. But how would you frame your work or address somebody who felt like, I'm kind of skeptical of this? You're telling me that you're communicating with dead people. You can't touch or feel them. How do I know it's real? And I say this believing myself, but I just want to vocalize that viewpoint.
Yeah, trust me. Like 25 years of doing this, I have run into many, many, many skeptics. I think it's healthy to be skeptical. You need evidence to believe. That's what I needed with Grandma Babe and the 924. So what I say to people is the work speaks for itself. You know, I can only speak for myself and my own experience as a medium, but we all work differently. But I tell my team in spirit and whoever I'm working with, their people, give them evidence, give them undeniable validation. And so from that place, then it's on them. It's not up to me. And then I meet people where they're at. So some clients I work with, they totally believe they do not need 10 validations in their 60-minute reading, right? Other people need it. And so for example, I did a reading for a woman the other day, a group of 8 people on Zoom. I said, I'm getting a young male who's like an E initial, Evan, and he died suddenly and in his 20s. And she's like, my son Ethan died in his 20s and suddenly. And so then I could tell she was open. In fact, she wasn't a skeptic, but I think anyone getting a reading wants specific evidence to walk away saying that was 100% the connection, undeniable, right? He went on and on. I said, what's with the Snoopy shirt? She goes, oh my God, I wore a Snoopy shirt that he gave me, or her daughter, or someone gave it to her right after he died. But she said, I haven't worn that shirt in so long. I wore it yesterday. Then I said, what's with banana bread? She goes, I just made it yesterday. And that was his favorite. And I haven't made it since he died. And then it went on and on. So I said 444. She goes, he had it tattooed right on his chest. Like, these are things you cannot make up, right? And so, long story short, when I do readings, I ask them, meet the person where they're at. If they're skeptical, give them more. If they need it, give it to them. If they don't, give it to them, right? And then from there, again, you feel the authenticity of the connection or not. You know, I've seen myself, I've gone to a lot of different psychics and mediums. Some are fantastic, like no question they made a connection. Others, it's way too broad. It's very generalized and it leaves you wondering, like, you know, and so I know I give people what I myself want when I go to see somebody.
And I think that's what makes you so special is that level of specificity. I mean, again, it was 20-ish years ago that my aunt went to see you, and you referenced that my mom had taken their late grandma's pearl necklace, made it into bracelets for all the daughters, and one bracelet was broken. I mean,
Oh my God.
that is next
Oh my
level.
God.
I love it.
Yes.
Good job, Grandma. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sort of wondering, so you know how when you connect with someone in real life and you know immediately that you talk about this in your book too, you know immediately that they're going to be a good friend, that you talk about like those soul connections. I'm curious if you feel that way about spirits who talk to you too. Like, do you ever get the feeling like, oh, we would be friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the same thing as connecting with humans, except there's no physical body. And so I have some clients I speak to regularly, and in fact, there's three of my clients and their husbands who all died young and suddenly. They've become some of my best spirit friends because they are so fun to talk to. They are so clear. And I talk to these ladies very regularly to the point they need new information every single time I talk to them. And I get new information every single time. And so, because I talk to them like they're my friends, I'm like, all right, Mike, I need you to say whatever she needs to hear today that would bring her peace and comfort. And then this spirit Mike, who's an excellent communicator, goes right in and like talks about things she did yesterday and the week before. And it's very comforting, But yes, spirits all still have their personalities.
So you wrote this most recent book, which I also love, called What's Your Heaven? And I felt like the takeaway for me, and please correct me if I have this wrong, is that we have this idea that you've died and either that's it, or maybe like a Hollywood version of heaven, but it's really more about a continuation of what made you really happy and fulfilled in your actual life. And I went to an event you did in Chicago, and you worked this room for maybe 2 hours nonstop. I think I cried the entire time because it was so emotionally resonant and moving, and people were getting such specific feedback on past loved ones. But it just kind of sounded like everybody was doing great. And it was the most comforting feeling if you're able to be there mentally, to envision the people you've loved that have passed on are in a version of this other side that's really peaceful and serene and fulfilling, and they're hanging out, they're playing cards, they're golfing, they're at a lake. Like, it almost sounds too good to be true, but like, I want this to be true. Is that the concept?
It is. So what I have learned is that heaven or hell is a state of mind. It's not not a place. Okay. So you can create a living hell or heaven on earth now. You can also do the same when you pass on. You pick up where you left off when you die. So I always tell people, look, we're in earth school. You want to do your work, learn your lessons, heal and balance your karma so that when you cross over, you can have everything you just described, but it's going to be your version of what your heaven is. So like you said, some people love the beach. They will be at the beach. Other people love Vegas. For me, no, that would be like a living hell. So that is like, they'll bring through whatever brought them joy, sounds like them. Some are doing activities, or some are like, there's like volunteer souls who will help little kids, and like, oh, my daughter, of course she's doing that. She was a preschool teacher, so like spirits find joy in different things. And this is why you're hearing all the happy stuff, because there is the other side of this where there's not so happy stuff. Okay. Because I only communicate with souls who are at peace, who are in a good place, and who have good intentions. And so I'm not going to connect with the souls who are in dark places doing really heavy, hard work. And that does exist. Now, some of these souls who are having the time of their life in their heaven still come in and out of the classroom on the other side, because they may have been wonderful, beautiful souls, but they still have work to do. So, but that's not a negative thing. But I may say, hey, they're in a classroom of learning forgiveness. They were super judgmental. And yet they're still playing poker with they'll name like 5 different relatives, right? Both can be true at the same time. And so in these 2-hour events, you're talking about my large audience readings, typically we don't have time to go into a deep dive. Those are more or less saved for private readings, when we can talk about the more real stuff, and it's not negative, it's not bad, it just is. It's where they're at in their journey of evolution.
Did you watch The Good, not to talk about TV, but did you watch The Good Place, Rebecca?
I watched a couple episodes. Yep.
Yeah. So all I'll say about that, I'm like, I love like a good scripted show, but all I'll say about that is it brought in a lot of like theology and interesting in different ways, philosophy and interesting in different ways, and the ultimate conclusion, not to spoil this, is essentially they create their own heaven, which is a learning machine that you just described. So I feel like what you've described is sort of like the version we're all looking for anyway. If we're like creating it in scripts, we're all looking for the answers. We all want to know what's going to happen. So I just find it really interesting that you've been able to sort of see this through your guides, because it just feels so much better than some of the other options.
Yeah, I actually I've been thinking about you a lot as this interview's been approaching, because I want to ask a question on behalf of humanity, just like a small little thing. It's clearly, I mean, you could say at many different junctures that the world feels heavy and fraught and scary, but I would even go out on a limb and say like now feels really, really terrible. And I'm wondering if you're getting any messaging or any insight about why things are at this fevered pitch, if we're staying there, if there's things we should be doing. It feels like we're in a really hard earth school moment. Yeah. And as somebody who wants to be a good student, I am struggling.
Yeah, there's a lot on the planet happening that's out of our control. And it's a lot. Sometimes, we have to have a shattering to let more light in. So it's almost like a cosmic reset that's happening. And a lot of we're moving from the 3D, three-dimensional, to the 5D Earth world. So some people have called it the old Earth, moving into the new Earth. This has been going on for several years, where it's like kind of climaxing now. But the lower fear-based frequencies that reside in 3D that create divisiveness, separation, the polarities, that is what we're seeing. And that's a very old, archaic, slow way of being. And literally the energy on the planet is shifting. The Schumann resonance is changing. It's heightening. There's more light waves, light codes coming onto the planet. So it's opening up 4D and 5D energies. And when I connect doing readings, I'm connecting to the fourth and fifth and beyond dimensions. So that's why I say we can bring heaven to earth now, or you can stay in the 3D and live in this living hell. Now, I think it's, as a responsible human, you need to be aware of what's going on, but then you have the choice. Do you want to align with light or shadow, love or fear? And so for me personally, to stay in my heaven on earth and to bring more light onto the planet, because all we can do is from the inside out be the light, right? To try and raise the vibe and bring more joy and kindness and love in a world that there's so much darkness and fear. And so I have to do a lot of grounding, a lot of clearing. I'm an empath. I sponge up, I absorb, I feel it. Doesn't feel good. Then I get shut down and I can't connect to spirit. So I constantly am using my tools to do that: prayer, meditation, salt baths, nature, not watching the news. Okay. I get sound bites just enough to know, but not too much to get sucked into the fear-based messaging that can really put you back into that frequency.
And what is the Schumann resonance?
It's the Earth.
I was like, is this a place we can go?
Yeah, it's Mother Earth's heartbeat. It's the, scientifically measured. It's the vibration of the planet.
That's beautiful. I was picturing maybe a retreat center that would calm me down.
I mean, you could build it.
Those too. Yeah.
The Schumann resonance.
Yes.
I'm curious, you mentioned that you're an empath. You do these 2-hour readings. What does it feel like for you afterwards?
They're okay, when I'm in it, I love it. They're amazing. They're magical. I'm not running my own energy. It's like running through me. So like I feel really lit up and energized. But when I come out of it, unplug, I collapse. They're exhausting, right? Because that's why I'm very limited in how much energy I can run through my system, because I would short circuit. So I have to be mindful of how many people I see each day or each week. There's a lot of things I need to do that most people don't to stay balanced and energized, because it requires so much energy to raise your vibration, connect to that high frequency, and then literally like run it through your system.
This is a little bit more of almost a tactical question, but I'm so interested when you are doing a reading or receiving something, how does it impress upon you, or how does that information come to you in a way that you're able to articulate it to somebody else?
That's what's taken years of practice, and I'm still learning. It's called my sign language, where spirit will show me, let's say, pizza. And I either have to literally
Like in your mind's
say,
eye?
yeah, in
Like
my mind's
okay.
eye. So like, okay, so last night we took our kids for pizza. I'm seeing a pizza. Why am I seeing a pizza? And then they may say, oh my God, the last meal we had was at our son's favorite pizza place, right? Or I will hear a clip in my head of a song I heard the other day. And actually, this happened the other day where I woke up with this song in my head, and it was like Steal Away. It was from like the 80s, 70s. I couldn't even begin to tell you what the song was, but it was in my head. And then I told the person, like, oh my God. So like 3 days later, that song came back into my head. And then I told the person, and she's like, that was my husband. That was our song.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So he came to me 3 days before with this random lyrics of the song. I had to look it up, and then it came back 3 days later in the reading. So that's how it works. And so half the time we're being impressed with thoughts and feelings, right? Because we all have antennas and we're picking up on stuff. And spirits don't know time or space. So they will come to me days, sometimes weeks before I'm in front of their loved one. And then it's later I have the aha moment where I connect the dots. I'm like, oh my God, I keep hearing Steven. I've heard it like 5 times this week. And they're like, Steven's my husband. And he's the first one out of the gates in my group reading.
You're like spiritual Columbo. You get like all these disparate clues, and you're like, I gotta solve the case.
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's a lot, and again, I would just say, if you want to develop your vocabulary, all you have to do is meditate and start talking to your spirits and your guides and just say, show me what you're going to give me for a yes sign, a no sign, a maybe. That's how I started this, right? And for me, that's a red light, green light, yellow light. For other people, it may be a feeling they get, right? Or they just get a strong knowing no. So we all work, it's called your clairs. It's clairvoyance is the most common one you hear of, and that's where you see things in your mind's eye, your third eye. Clairaudience, you hear things in your mind's voice. That's how this all started. When they were writing through me, I could hear it in my mind's voice.
wow.
Yeah.
Do your kids have, I think you have 3 kids if I'm remembering correctly?
I have 3, and I'm in a blended, we have 6 total.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So does your family have this ability too, or are you sort of one of one?
No, I don't think they want it. At this age, they kind of roll their eyes. Actually, my son Jacob, who's 20, he like now totally gets it. He's like very in tune, sensitive, but none of my kids have the quote unquote gift. Like I said at the beginning, everybody has intuition. Everybody can talk to the dead and can receive messages back directly. So everyone has it, but do any of them have it to the level I have? And are any of them meant to do it for a living? The answer is no.
Gotcha. Can you imagine being a teenager trying to get away with things, and then your mom's like, I literally know what you're up to because I have this unique gift.
Yeah, the boys tried, and they're the older ones. My youngest, who's now 9, she's like, I'm not even going to try to lie to you. She's like, I know you already know. So yeah, there's just nothing but full transparency around here.
Amazing.
I can't imagine. Honestly, my parents just called it spidey sense. Like if I'd say I was sleeping over at someone's house and I was not actually there, I would get a call and they'd be like, my spidey sense was going off. And I'm like, clearly something was happening.
My kids are just really bad liars so far.
That's funny. But mother's intuition is a real thing, especially when we've given birth to that child. There's these etheric cords, and even not, you form etheric cords with your loved ones. And those cords, they're kind of like telephone lines almost. And they're constantly picking up, sending and receiving energy. And so that's the spidey sense.
I've gone to a couple mediums over the years, maybe like one a year for the past couple of years, because I just find it so interesting. And it keeps coming up that one of my twin daughters and I have been on this roller coaster ride many times.
Which one?
Who do you think?
Shira.
Totally Shira. we both have big personalities and a lot of feelings, and there's deep love, but we can certainly be more in conflict. And I just think it's so interesting that potentially we have traveled together in previous incarnations and are still working out our stuff.
Yeah, that's what the soul contracts are about. And we end up, reincarnating with the same souls over and over until we learn the lessons and get it right. And sometimes we play out the same roles, sometimes it's different. Maybe in your last life, the mother-daughter role was reversed. Maybe you were sisters, so there's all different dynamics. But yeah, that's a very real thing.
Okay.
I could see you guys as sisters. You talk about inspirited co-creating with the universe. I love the idea of manifesting. I love like the work that goes into it, but it can feel a little daunting to sort of be in conversation with the universe if you don't know where to start. So is there sort of, not to ask you to give us a hack, but is there an easy way to get started? If you're like, oh, I have these dreams and aspirations, what is one way besides like an hour-long vision boarding session for me to start achieving these goals with the universe?
Yeah, like the bottom line is we are co-creators. And by co, I mean you as a soul are here to play out a soul contract that you signed up for. And, some of that is your free will choices that bring that into being, and some of it is predestined. But you always have the free will to choose. So even if you have a soul contract and you want to, and it's set to manifest, a husband with 2 kids and a dog, and you get here and you're like, yeah, but I'm not so sure. You can renegotiate and change that soul contract, make different choices, but it's still, these opportunities will still present themselves. And so to actively co-create, and the hack I would say is, you want to get out of your head and get into your heart, because you can't really manifest. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are, meaning what your vibration is. And if you're thinking your way into things, that doesn't go very far. The universe responds to emotions, the frequency of emotion, and that's in our heart. And so if there are things you want to see play out in your life, the first thing is you want to get clear on the intention, get out of your head, drop into your heart, feel your way into it. So it depends on what kind of a manifester you are. Some people are specific, which means vision boards work great. Writing it out works great. Other people are non-specific, and that means they more feel feelings around it, like the excitement or joy that it's going to bring them. So, but at the end of the day, we're really after the feeling, not the thing, right? So my hack would be less head, more heart, and from that place, invite it in.
It's really good advice.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, do you have any more questions before we move to our connection conversation? I'm sure you have a million more questions.
I'm trying to be respectful of your time. I'll just jump back to mortality. So I will say, I think in middle age, although I can't even believe I'm saying those words because I feel like a child sometimes, I'm starting to see people going through things, much harder things, parents passing on, health stuff, all of this that comes with kind of sitting in the 40s. And I'm wondering, again, because I put you on such a pedestal, like, how do you feel about mortality with your unique lens and abilities? Do you more feel like it's so great to be here while I am and I have no worries about what comes after? Or as somebody who has a family and a young daughter, do you feel really tethered and attached to this life? I basically want your wisdom and assurance.
Yeah, I may be the wrong person to ask because, quite honestly, I like being out of my body more than in. We all leave our bodies when we dream, and, a lot of times have dream visitations. We're connecting with the other side. We can leave our bodies when we meditate. Sometimes I'm walking through life, half of my body, half out, because it's so heavy and dense and hard to be here. And so the whole point, though, is life is a gift. And I choose to be here. And so every day I'm calling my energy back to be fully present and in my body. However, I have zero fear of death because death is our home. Like it's not death. There is no death. it's a transition. Energy doesn't die. It transitions from one state of being to another. So it's like an ice cube melting, right? It goes from being dense ice down into liquid, into a vapor. And that's the same with our soul. And so I would, for anybody who fears death, there is no death. And this afterlife, the other higher dimensions are peaceful. There's no polarity or duality. It truly is, the higher planes are truly frequencies of love and unity and harmony and peace and joy. And so there is nothing to be afraid of. This world scares me more than what I have tasted from my experience on the other side. So that's, but again, I love my life and I'm here for a reason. And so I'm going to enjoy every moment.
That was the verbal hug I needed. Thank you. Yes, and then we have our connection conversation.
Yeah. Do you have about 5 minutes for a connection conversation? I don't want to take you too far over.
And your assistant asked the funniest thing as we were preparing for this.
Well, I asked her because I'm like, I didn't know if you're talking about living or dead, because I have a lot of dead connections.
Yeah, and so I want to hear about it all. Like we absolutely want to hear about your living friends, about your friends who passed on. I guess I'm curious who is the last connection you've made, and you can tell us living or dead.
Well, the last living connection was yesterday. I reached out to my friend. She's another psychic medium. I haven't talked to her in a very long time, Marianne DeMarco. And,
you referred her to me.
Oh, yes. Have you?
Yes. So I connected with her rep, and then I was trying to find her a book publicist, and then I put her in touch with my friend Amy Robbins, who has a podcast called This. Yes, you've been on her podcast.
Yes.
Life and Death and the Space Between.
Exactly. Yes, I know who you're talking about. I love that.
Yes.
That's amazing. So Mary Ann and I connected, and the minute I got on with her, she's like, Rebecca, I was literally she was either talking about me or thinking about me. She was freaked out. And because I just randomly called her. And then she gives me a spontaneous 20-minute reading. She just had this download, you guys. I was not expecting it at all. I was just calling to catch up. But she gave me such good, relevant information. And she's like, that was spirit. I'm like, I need to call you more often. So
wait, this feels like the beginning of an amazing joke. Like two mediums walk into a bar.
Right.
I mean, what an amazing connection when mediums can do this for each other.
Yes. It's such a gift. And I'm so grateful for people like that. So yeah.
Are you able to read for yourself? Or are you sort of like, are you getting messages for yourself, or is it more powerful from other people?
It's more powerful when somebody who doesn't know what's going on with me can be objective. I always say reading for yourself sometimes is like trying to do surgery on yourself. You don't do it. Now, can I on a daily check in with my guides? Yes. But when I really need clarity because I'm too emotionally involved in something, that's when I need somebody outside of myself who can just be a mirror for me. So, yeah.
Our connection conversation. What's one piece of advice for your younger self about connecting? And again, that can be living or dead.
I want to say it goes back to what I said in the beginning about trust the process and stay out of effort, right? So sometimes when we're young and dumb, we over effort and we over worry and overthink and overdo, right? And so I think if we just relax and follow the signs, go with the flow, trust the process, things always work out.
Okay, last connection conversation. And then I want to tell you something off tape before you go. Who is someone who's a dream connection who you have not yet connected with?
Living or dead.
Living or dead can be either.
You pick, dealer's choice.
That's so funny. Well, for a long time, it literally in dreams, I dreamt it was Oprah, and I have met every single person around her but her. She would come to me in dreams for years and years. And then I ended up writing for Oprah.com. Like it was just, but I've never actually met her, and I love her work and I would love to meet her. But Wayne Dyer is the one, and I know he passed away, but like I always wanted to meet him. And then it was when he passed away, because I'm just a big fan of Ram Dass, and he brought through a lot of his teachings, and I read all of Wayne's books. But then it was when I was doing a large audience reading in Florida, South Florida, I channeled him because I had no idea, but I was reading his daughters.
Oh.
I know. I was so excited.
Ah!
I got to meet Wayne.
Oh, that's so
Well,
nice.
may you meet Oprah while she's living. That feels
Right.
like it's meant to be. But that's
Exactly.
really incredible.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I guess before we lose you, Rebecca, tell the audience what to read from you, where to find you, so that they can keep following you.
So I have a podcast. It's Small, Medium, at Large. I am in the process of filming season 4. But I have 3 seasons out. They can find me at RebeccaRosen.com. I'm at Medium Rebecca Rosen is my handle, and I have books. You can get them anywhere. Amazon. What's Your Heaven is my latest. Yeah.
Thank you.
You've made
You're so welcome.
Rachel. Well, I've loved this, but you've made Rachel's dream come true.
I was like, did I create a podcast just to talk to Rebecca? Like
No.
maybe this was a back channel.
Stop. You're so funny. I'm
Thank
honored.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you
means
so
a lot.
much.
Well, I appreciate the invitation. This has been really special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I loved our conversation with Rebecca Rosen.
I think I'm still in disbelief that it happened.
Well, it was your very first pitch for a guest on this podcast, so I can understand why you're in disbelief. And we want to kind of not talk behind our guests' backs, but really go over the things that changed our lives.
Okay, so if you had one takeaway from this conversation, what would it be?
It's more like an anecdote. Like, I just loved the story of the women that come to Rebecca to speak to their husbands who've passed on, and the fact that she has sort of this lovely relationship with all of them, the husbands who have passed on and the wives. I think that's great. She just is sort of like a part. Honestly, like, to me, it sounds like they're having like a dinner date, like the group of them. It was my favorite. What about you?
I'm having a hard time narrowing it down because I think there's 3 directions I could equally go. But I think what I'm processing is that I find her to be magical, but also so relatable. She's a mom. We're about the same age. We know a couple random people in common. She's like so cute. And then she also can communicate with the deceased. So I think it's just this like really fascinating juxtaposition of we could go out for a margarita and she could conceivably connect me with my late grandparents.
I think that's really reasonable.
And you know what else? I think this is a truism of people who are pretty far along in their careers, who are at high competency levels. When you're insecure, you really need to prove.
Yeah.
And when you've got it, you are stable and can sort of sit back and feel assured in your abilities. So even when I ask her about skeptics or people who don't really believe in what she does, it doesn't rattle her. It doesn't make her feel the need to go on the defensive and be like, this thing happened and this thing happened and this thing happened. Like, so many things happen for her that she's able to feel, to me, incredibly secure in her gifts and talents and just sit with it. And if it's for somebody, amazing. And if it's not for somebody, that's okay too. May I be that.
I know. It's that ego thing. She talks a lot about the ego in her like work. And I just really feel like she was egoless in our conversation.
Yes. If I could walk into a room, I mean, this is the event I went to. It was, I think, give or take 2 years ago. And she goes into a small auditorium of presumably all strangers.
My goodness.
And is just able to captivate and capture and channel for 2 straight hours. I can't even remember people's phone numbers that I love dearly. You know what I mean? It was, if anybody can ever see her in person, it's a marvel. But what is your show and tell this week? I feel like we have a real theme going. So what would you like to talk about?
Let's give Ben a nice spot to put that sound effect. It's time for show and tell.
Yes!
I have a great show and tell. Well, it's a show and tell celebrating your great friend and a former guest on the podcast. We'll call him podcast alums. What do you think?
Podcast alum. Yes, yes.
Danielle Robay. She was just this week announced as the host of Reese Witherspoon's Book Club's weekly podcast, the Hello Sunshine podcast. We are so happy for you, Danielle. And what I love about this is she deserves it. Two, you're going to get to think about a book with her over the course of a month, which I love, because book clubs, usually you meet once a month. You don't always get the author. You don't always get to sort of think about it from a lot of different perspectives. I just think it's going to be really lovely. And I have one other reason that's researchy that I love a book club.
I know you have science. Go for it.
I do. Well, so an actual in-person book club. So I think this podcast is going to be great for any book club that follows Reese's Picks, which I know a lot do. And there's all the more reason to join a book club. So Robert Putnam,
who you should just invite at this point because he has been referenced a few times.
Many a time. We love Robert Putnam, the author of Bowling Alone. He was featured in a recent documentary called Join or Die. He actually has this whole theory about clubs. And there are two kinds of, have I talked about this on the podcast before? It gets really murky at a certain point. Two kinds of bonds.
No, I don't think I know this.
Okay, great. There's bonding and bridging. Bonding are the sorts of ties that you have with people who are just like you. So people who you have a lot in common with: class, race, age, gender, bonding. Bridging is supported by clubs. Bridging ties are ties that support like people who are maybe different than you, different ages, classes, genders, race. And bridging ties are linked to better participation in democracy. So joining a book club, joining a run club, joining a club of any sort is linked with, per Putnam's research and lots of research that has repeated and come after him, it's linked with better participation in democracy. So Danielle, we celebrate you and what you are doing for democracy.
Danielle is saving democracy. Yes, I'm smiling.
One pick at a time.
But I love alliteration, but it makes a lot of sense. If you only stay with people who are just like you, your worldview narrows.
Exactly.
And if you open, I love this phrase lately, if you open the aperture, am I saying this correctly?
Absolutely you are.
I feel like it went from the realm of like professional photography into political speak. But the idea is being exposed to other kinds of people that aren't in your immediate network gives you the gift of a broader lens on the world, hopefully more empathy and compassion, just the fun of different perspectives.
Exactly. It all bonds.
Do you bridge? You probably bridge through a sweat life.
I bridge through a sweat life because there are a lot of people from different neighborhoods, different backgrounds, different jobs, different education levels. Like there are professional moms in the group, there are principals, there are PhDs. It's a very diverse group. So I feel like I have fewer polarized beliefs because I am so surrounded. Do you bridge? I'm sure you do.
I'm thinking I don't bridge hard enough.
Well, a great way to bridge is to join a club and just not ask the questions that pull us apart. That's why like Putnam studied bowling so hard because bowling clubs, like people showed up, mostly men in his early research. Men would show up, they'd bowl together, they'd be from different walks of life. They would recognize that although there were differences, we have bowling in common.
Bowling, the great equalizer. Except me because I'm really bad at bowling. Okay. I'm so excited for Danielle though. And book clubs, I think the more people read, the better off we're all.
And fiction's great for empathy too. Reading
Yes.
fiction.
Yes.
Okay, Rachel, before I go on and on about books and book clubs and Robert Putnam, what is your show and tell today?
This show and tell dotted line back to previous episodes. So I had mentioned earlier that I was going on a girls' trip with two of my high school friends. And this conversation came because of a Wall Street Journal story where a larger group of women could not come together to figure out a girls' trip that everybody would be happy with. And so the trip never transpired. And I went with Laura and Mary, who I've known since 7th grade, braces and bangs era, to Charleston. And my takeaway is that we can always carve out time for connection. And this one quote haunts me in a good way. And it essentially says, if you want to do something, you'll find the time. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. And so we all found the time. And we flew in on Friday, and we flew out on Sunday, and we maximized our time, and we laughed a ton, and we had heartfelt conversations, and we had silly conversations. And I felt like the tension was melting off of all of us as we went along. And we didn't do anything crazy. We did a walk-in tour. We had good meals. We had cocktails. we just spent time together. And for those who say, well, I'm just so busy, I'm going to hold up my friend Laura as an example. She works in private equity. She's on a plane, I think, 4 days a week right now.
Laura.
She has this huge, busy, intense job and 3 kids, and she made it. And so I think that for people you love and that matter to you, make connection a priority, put it on the calendar, commit to it. You just will never regret time invested in friendship.
I love that. Take it out of the group chat.
Take it out of the group chat.
Oh my gosh. Well, with that, should we wrap it up? How do we even wrap it up after this?
Making plans.
I guess, yeah, we should make a plan. But this has been an episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. And this is a production of 2 friends, Rachel Gilman-Rischel and me, Jeana Anderson Cohen. You can follow us on Instagram by using our full names. You'll also find those in the show notes. Also, we'd love it if you would, add us on LinkedIn, send us a DM, a message, whatever. Thank you for every single one of you for listening, notes, voice memos. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to Ben.